All right, the last thing we're going to look at for this week is part 1 of 4.3. Part 1 is the parallel part of the lesson. Part 2, when you guys come back, that'll be the perpendicular part. Okay. So, previously we've done equations that are in slope-intercept form. Can someone remind me again, what is slope-intercept? Yep?
Y equals mx.
Nice. That's y equals mx plus b. We may see that come up in the lesson. Okay, so we might use slope-intercept sometimes, or we might also use point slope. Okay, you guys already have it, but there's a box here. You can write it one more time. What's point slope? Someone remind me how that one starts.
It's y minus y1 equals parentheses x minus x.
Yep. So there's your point slope. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now, a lot of the notes you're going to see here in example 1 are going to be exactly the same as the steps you did yesterday. So we're just going to review them. Also, you're going to see part of your notes here is for next time. Right? It says, you'll see it when you get to your notes. So make sure you put these notes in a good spot.
Are we allowed to use these on the test?
For the test, you can use one sheet. If you want to make, you can use the reference sheet that I gave you, or you can make your own. It's up to you.
Like front and back?
Front and back, yep. For the take-home part, you can use as many sheets as you want, because that's the take-home. Okay, so remember, m is the slope, x1 and y1 is a coordinate that you're given. So we're going to write an equation in point slope form for lines that are parallel. Does anyone know what that means, two lines that are parallel? Yep.
Will never touch.
Right. They never cross. They look like that. Never cross. If you compared the slope of line 1 and the slope of line 2, how would the slopes compare?
Or like the same?
They'd be exactly the same, right? That's the thing that makes lines parallel. They have exactly the same steepness, same slope. So we're going to mention that. All right, let's look at example 1. Okay, example 1, I want you guys to write an equation of a line that passes through a point, which I'll tell you, and parallel to a line, which I will tell you. So here's the point. You guys have to write this down. So I want you to figure out an equation that if you were to draw it, it would go right through the point 3, 5. But there's a lot of lines that would go through the point 3, 5. If I did, let me just show you something like this real quick. Let's say, here's the point 3, 5. Right there. This is a line that goes through 3, 5. That's a line that goes through 3, 5. So is that. Those are all lines that go through point 3, 5. But I want the one specifically that is parallel to this one. And there's only one that would be parallel to that. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug into point slope form. If you already remember this part from yesterday, you don't have to write it. If you want to put it down again, you can put it down. But remember, when you plug in, y stays as y. That's the first one. It's your y. You don't change it. The minus, that doesn't change. So it's y, then it's minus y1. The y1, you have to plug in a number for that. Okay, where do you get the number? Same place we got the number yesterday. It's after the comma. So take the number after the comma and fill it in for y1. Right, so now we got y minus y1. Someone remind me what comes after y1? Yep, equals. You don't do anything with that. Anyone remember what comes after the equals? M, which is your slope. So now, with M, we have to figure out our slope. What did I just say? If two lines are parallel, then they will have, how will the slopes compare? They're going to be the same. So, look at that equation right there. Who can tell me what the slope is in the part that I circled? Yep.
Negative 2/3.
Negative 2/3. If I am looking for a line parallel to that, what is the slope going to have to be if it's parallel to the one I circled? Yep.
I have to have the same.
Same. The slopes are going to be what? We just said it. Two parallel lines have what kind of slopes? Same slopes. So if this line has a slope of negative 2/3, and I'm looking for one parallel to that, then the one parallel is going to have a slope of, is that the same slope? Has to have the same slope, negative 2/3. If that line has a slope of negative 2/3 and you want to know one that's parallel, then that one has a slope of negative 2/3 as well. They have to have the same slope. Okay? So that's the key there, right? The slope for the line that's parallel is the same. So, if the problem is asking for parallel, which every problem you do today will, we're not going to get to perpendicular tomorrow. This will be after break. After break. If they want to know a line that's parallel, it's just the number attached to the x. That's it. That's the slope you're going to use. Look at your problem. Look at the number attached to the x. That's going to be the m that you're going to fill in the formula. Okay, exactly the same slope. Perpendicular, I'll show you after break. Okay. After your slope, you've got a parenthesis. Nothing you got to do with that. What's the first thing you put inside the parenthesis? X. X stays as X. You don't have to do anything with that. What comes after the X?
Minus.
A minus. Don't have to do anything with that. What comes after the minus? X1. You do have to do something with that. You have to plug in a number. So, use the same coordinate that you used for y1, except instead of using the number after the comma, you're using the number before the comma. X1 is the number before. So really, it is the same thing as yesterday. And now you're done plugging stuff in, but what's the last thing you always have to put in the equation? You got to close that parenthesis, and then you're done. And doing all of those steps right there gives you what form? Point slope. Now, if they said slope intercept, that's part 2. Sometimes you have to do it, sometimes you don't. What's the first thing you have to do if they ask for slope intercept?
You have to distribute.
You have to distribute. Okay? So once you have your point slope form, the first, actually, your first bullet, you're gonna probably have an extra bullet that I don't think you really need because it already says point slope form up above it. So you really don't have to write that in again. You can just put distribute on the first bullet. That's all. Distribute. And then on the second bullet, you have to add or subtract the number that's with the y to the other side. So you'd have something like this. After you distribute, it would look like that. In this case, I would do a +2 on each side. So add or subtract the number on the side with the y over to the other side. Again, that step is the same as yesterday. In fact, every step is the same as yesterday. The only difference is I'm using the word parallel. But other than that, it's exactly the same problems again. Okay, so as far as notes go, writing notes, we're done with notes. Okay, the last thing is just we're going to try some examples. But there's no more definitions or bullets or anything like that. Okay, it's just examples. Okay, so I've got 6 examples. I don't know if we'll get to all 6 because like examples 5 and 6 are the same. 3 and 4 are the same. So I want to make sure we get to at least one of each. If we have extra time, we can do a second one. So that way you guys are okay for the test tomorrow. Does everybody have part 2? All right, so we'll do this one together. Wait, do we have an example 1 that we kind of skipped?
It was like
yeah, it was kind of like we were. Let's see. So you got a little bit of room on your guided notes. We'll do example 1 together, like right off to the side. Just do it in that space right there, because I don't think you would have put anything up there. Or you can also write it right above example 1 too, if you need space there. All right. So write an equation that passes through the given point and is parallel to that line. So let's start with our slope. What is the slope going to be for the line that I'm going to find?
-2.
Yep, it has to be the same slope as the line that I was given. So my slope is going to be -2/3 because that's the slope they gave me for the other line. Okay, so we've got our slope. Now we're ready to fill in our formula. Y minus, what's going to come after the minus?
5.
Yep, here's the coordinate that they gave you. 3, 5. So y minus 5. Yep. What comes after the 5? Equals. And how about Tristan after the equal sign?
-2/3.
Yep. Your slope. -2/3. Lucas after my slope. Parenthesis. Okay. Kayla after my parenthesis. X, and what comes right after the X? Minus. And who can give me the last number I need to put there? 3. Yep. And that's the last number, but there's one more thing I need to write in the equation. Parenthesis. That's it. They didn't say to change it to SlopeIntercept, so I'm not going to do part 2 on this one. The other reason I don't want to do part 2 is because I have to distribute a fraction. All right. So we'll do a part 2 on the next one, even if it is a fraction. We got to practice it. Okay? But that's all I'm going to do for that one. Okay. Any question on example 1? Let's try example 2. Yeah, I like this one better to distribute because the slope isn't a fraction. All right, so example 2, now we're on the back. Let's write, actually, you guys got a spot, you need to copy that down. There's the coordinate, -5, -4. There's the equation. Okay. So to write our equation, what's the first thing that we always find? Slope. What's nice about this is you really don't have too much work to do on this problem. You don't have to do rise over run or a formula. The slope is right in front of you as long as you know which number to look at. What's the slope? How do you know -4? Because it's after the comma? It's before the x. Just a coincidence that you have two -4s. Don't get confused by that. We're looking at this one. To find a line that's parallel, use the same slope that they gave you. And now let's start our equation. And I am going to change this to slope-intercept. Okay, so Blake, in point slope, what's the first thing I write?
Y.
Y. Yep. And Aileen, what comes right after the Y? Minus. And how about Princess, what number comes after the minus? Yep. This is x1, y1. Be careful there. It's y minus, and then the number is -4. So we'll come back to that. Equals. Joe, what comes after the equals?
-4.
Yep, -4. So we've got my slope. After the slope, parentheses. Next two things after the parenthesis, never change. X minus. And the last number I need. -5. Okay, again, be careful with that. Okay, we got a little bit of work to do because we got to get this in y equals mx plus b, and we got to clean up this minus minus. What's another way to say y minus -4? Yeah, let's make it y plus 4. Yep, minus a minus is a plus. What about x minus -5? It's really x plus 5. Now, what form is this? Point slope. The directions I added in, slope intercept. All right, so 2 steps to change to slope intercept. What's my first step? Distribute. What am I going to distribute? We're going to distribute that -4. What's that going to do to the left side? Nothing. That stays the same. Elizabeth, what's -4 times x? That's it. That's all you can do. -4x. -4 times 5. Not adding. You're thinking adding. Multiply. -20. Now, is that point slope anymore? It's like half. It's not really because you distributed. Is it slope intercept?
No.
No, not really. It's nothing right now. It's like in the middle. What's the last step to get it with y by itself?
Wait, 4 on both.
So subtract what on both sides?
4.
4, yep. -4, -4, plus 4 minus 4 is gone. And how about, Jane, can you tell me my final answer?
Sorry,
Anyone help him out? What's our final answer here? Yeah, James?
Y equals -4x minus 24.
Minus 24. 20. -20 minus 4 is -24. Okay. And again, both of these answers were correct. This one and this one. You just have to read the directions on the test and see which way it says to leave it. If you did this problem and you left it in point slope and it said slope intercept, I'd give you half credit if you got the right equation, but you didn't write it the way they said to. Okay, I give you some points. But that's what I'm looking for in this one. Question?
What if you did more than that step?
There's nothing more you can do there.
No, like the point intercept when you made it.
Yeah, if you leave it in the wrong one, then you're going to lose some points. Because then I'm going to think you didn't know which one was which. So you've got to leave it in the one that they tell you to. Yeah.
This didn't ask for us to do that.
Yeah, I added that in.
Oh.
But you're right, it did not say it in the directions there. All right. So remember, lines or equations of lines that have the same, I just want you to fill in the word same on your line. And different y-intercepts. Okay. So lines or equations of lines, should I fix this? It's kind of worded awkwardly. Basically, it should say lines or equations of lines that have slopes that are the same. I guess that makes sense. Have slopes that are the same. What do we call that again? When you have slopes that are the same? Parallel. Yep. So you guys have 3 blanks there. In the first blank, same. Second blank, different. Third blank, parallel. Now, why did I say that? What if 2 lines had exactly the same slope and exactly the same intercept? Why wouldn't they be parallel? Yeah?
Because they would be the same thing.
Right, they would be exactly the same thing. This is not parallel to that. Those aren't parallel. They have the same slope, but they also have the same y-intercept right there. They're exactly the same line. Okay? 2 lines that are exactly on top of each other are not parallel. You'd have to move one of them like that. Now, this one crosses the y-axis down here. This one crosses the y-axis up there. So now they have the same slope, but different y-intercepts. Okay? That's what makes parallel. Yep.
Why not just change the y? Like some random number. Whatever.
What do you mean? So we're saying as long as you have 2 lines that have the same slope and any 2 different y-intercepts, then they are parallel.
Like, instead of, I don't know, could you just change the y intercept?
Yeah, you just, so like if I said, okay, here's a line. Somebody give me a line that's parallel to 3x plus 2. Just make sure you do this and do that. 3x plus 6, perfect. She followed those directions exactly. Same slope, different y-intercept. Now, did she have to pick 6? No, she could have said 7, 8, -4. Did she have to say 3?
Yeah.
Yes. She had to keep these the same. If she messed those up, then they wouldn't be parallel, they would cross. Right? So just reminding you guys what parallel means. All right. What's that formula again in case we have to find the slope by hand? Think of the fraction. Yep.
M equals y2 minus y1.
Yep.
X2.
Yep. So I know you guys already have that. We'll just write it down one more time on that last bullet. So if you get a problem where you have to find the slope, just remember that that's how you do it. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right. So example 3 gives us 3 different lines. Okay? There's a line that passes through these 2 points, a line that passes through those 2 points, and line C passes through those other 2 points. You guys have to write those points in. The question here is, which of those lines, A, B, and C, are parallel? That's what they want to know. So, in order to see if they're parallel, what's the first thing you should check, or the first thing you should find? And unfortunately, we got to do it 3 times. Yep. Find the slopes. Find the slopes of each one, and see if 2 of them are the same. Now, if you find 2 that are the same, we got to go a little bit further and check the y-intercepts. All right. So you wouldn't have a lot of these problems because this one can take quite a few minutes to do. All right. So let's start with the slopes. Let's find the slope of line A. Okay. What could I put in the upper left? To find this. Let's label them. X1, Y1, X2, Y2.
-2.
Yep. Upper right. 3. Lower left. -3. And the lower right. -1. Okay. So let's see what the slope is for line A. What's -2 minus 3? -5. How about -3 minus -1? This part becomes a positive. -2. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. Okay, so we've got the slope of line A. The rise is 5, the run is 2. We're trying to find another line that has a slope of 5/2.
Did you turn that into both?
Yes. Yep. Okay. Let's do line B. For line B, what would we put in the upper left? Let's check. -2, right? Yep, -2. Upper right? 2. Lower left? -1. Lower right? 1. Right, let's check this. This isn't looking good. -2 take away 2 is how much? -4. Well, that's not what we had in the other one. And what's -1 minus 1? -2. What's a negative divided by a negative? Positive. Do those lines have the same slope? No. So we know that A and B are definitely not parallel. The only question is C parallel to any of them? So if we get a slope of 2 or 5/2, it could be parallel. Okay, let's check. C.
Wait, why those? You said that it would be parallel.
These are not parallel because the slopes came out different. Slopes have to come out the same. All right, for C, what goes in the upper left? -2, yep. Upper right? 2. Lower left? 2. Lower right? 4. Let's see what happens here. What's -2 minus 2? -4. What's 2 minus 4? Wait a minute. Look at what just happened on line B. What's -4 divided by -2? +2. So those two lines have the same slope. Lines B and lines C. They have exactly the same slopes. Yep. Any question on that? Now, what I'm going to do, just to kind of help me and do it a little quicker, and I'll give you guys a piece of graph paper so you could do this on the test. Okay, I know you don't have it in your notes, so just watch me do it. Can somebody tell me what are the 2 coordinates for line B? Because I have them off the screen.
B, it's 1 and 2.
1, 2, okay.
And then -1, -2.
-1, -2. Okay, so there is a quick sketch of line B. All right, give me the two coordinates for line C.
4, 2.
4, 2, yep.
2, negative.
2, -2. There's a quick sketch of line C. Does that kind of support what we found? Do they look parallel?
Yes.
Do they have different y-intercepts? We didn't have to do any math to figure that out because I'll give you guys a little sheet of graph paper where you can put the points on it and see, oh yeah, they definitely have different y-intercepts. So we can say B and C are parallel.
When it was explained, is that all you have to put?
Yeah, because the way you explained it is you showed me the work. You showed me how you got the slopes, and I'll give you a little piece of graph paper so you can make a sketch, and that shows me you know the y-intercepts are different. Okay? So same slope, you showed me how to do it. Different y-intercepts, you showed me on a piece of graph paper. Okay, so any question on that type? Now, 4 is the same type. So I'm going to skip 4 because you'd have to do all the same stuff again. Find all the slopes, see if 2 of them are the same, and if they are, use a little scrap piece of graph paper, graph the 2 lines, put the dots, and put a line through them, and just make sure you basically don't want to end up with something like this. Let's say you put 2 dots here and here, draw your line, and then you put 2 other dots and you get one here, and draw your line. Would those be parallel? No, because they ended up right on top of each other. Your hope is when you make the dots, they end up in different spots, one above and below the other. All right, so let's look at the last one.
Wait, Mr. Hager. I
Yep.
have a question. Okay, this happens to be on the extra credit, but it's what we just learned.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it. We'll have probably like 5 minutes at the end. We'll take a look. All right, so the last one is going to use slope-intercept. Someone remind me, what is slope-intercept?
Y equals mx.
Y equals mx plus b. Okay. What letter represents the slope?
M.
M. So, if you want to know, looking at the equation of a line, that something is parallel to something else, we already said it, I'm just saying it again, but you've already written it in your notes. You have to check that your lines have the same, what?
Same slope.
Same slope, but different y-intercepts. Exactly. So step 1, make sure your equation is written just like that. Step 2, check that the number with x, that's your slope, check that the number with x is the same, and the number with b is different. If that doesn't happen, then the lines aren't parallel. I think you'll think example 5 is easier than example 3. Example 3 takes a long time. You got to find the slopes of all 3 lines, and then you got to use graph paper and draw them real quick and make sure they're not right on top of each other. That takes a while. But this is easier. You're not going to need any scrap graph paper or anything like that. Okay, but the very first step is to make sure all your equations have y by themselves. Okay. So I want to know if any of those 3 lines are parallel to each other. It's kind of the same question I gave you before in the last example, but this one's actually easier to do because you don't have to calculate anything by hand. Now, what does step 1 say? Make sure what?
It is in more.
Yeah, make sure. Are any of those lines already in slope-intercept form?
B.
B. So B's okay. I like that. Put a box around it, because that one's good. How about A? No, I don't like that one. What do I have to do to get A in slope-intercept form? What has to move to the other side?
The y. Or the 5.
The negative 4x. Because the goal is to get y by itself. So if there's something with the y, we don't want it. How would you move negative 4x to the other side? Plus 4x plus 4x. That's gone. Who can tell me what you get when you do that? And remember, we wanted an mx plus b, not b plus mx. Yep. Perfect. I can see where some people might think, oh, 5 plus 4x. That's not wrong, but you really want 4x plus 5. Okay, you want it in that order. How about line C? Is that in y equals mx plus b?
Yes.
No.
Well, is the y all by itself? No. There's something on the same side with the y I don't want. What don't I want there? More.
Negative 4.
The negative 4x. How am I going to get rid of the negative 4x? Add what? And where else? On the other side, yep. What's negative 4x plus 4x? 0. What's on the left-hand side now? Y comes after that? Equals 4x plus 4. So now, look at the 3 equations in the boxes. You're trying to figure out if any of them are parallel. How come A and C are parallel?
Because they both have the same slope.
Same number with x. So yep, same slope. And what else do they have? Different y-intercepts. One's a 5, one's a 4. So A and C are parallel. How come B isn't parallel? It's got a 5 in front of the x, and the other equation up here has a 5.
It's not negative 4.
Yeah, it's the slope, right? You're looking for same slope. All right, so a couple reminders about tonight. So the homework is the take-home test. Take-home test is 6 questions. Okay. You'll do the rest in class tomorrow. Okay, if you lose the take-home part, okay, you will not have enough time to finish this test in class tomorrow. Okay, we only have 39 minutes in class. So if you lose the take-home and you say, oh, I forgot it at home, well, I'll give you the whole test, but I don't think you're going to be able to finish the whole thing in 39 minutes. That's why I'm giving you half of it as a take-home. All right? So on the take-home, you can use your notes. You can use the video. You can use worksheets. You can use any resource I've given you. Okay? But I expect everybody to work on it themselves. Okay? You have to work on it individually. Any questions on the take-home? Okay, if you are not here, okay, so if absent, the take-home, which is part 1, is still due by 9:20 a.m. on 12/13. That means you would have to email it to me or take pictures of it and email it. You have to send it to me by 9:20 a.m. If you know you're not going to be here tomorrow and you're like, you know what, I don't think I can email you the test, then don't take part 1 right now. You can take it another time, and we'll go from there. So is there anybody that thinks, you know what, I can't get you part 1 tomorrow because I'm going to be on a plane or something. Yeah?
I don't know what we're doing now.
Because you were absent. So yeah, Sophia is not taking part 1. Is anybody else not taking part 1 right now? Everybody else that's present is taking it. Yes?
I missed like the day before yesterday, but do you think I'll still be fine taking the test?
I mean, I think since it's a take-home, since you can look up the video and watch the video as you do it, I would think you would be okay. Because you don't have anything you have to remember. And this is pretty much what we did yesterday too. Same kinds of stuff. Anybody else not wanting to do part 1 because you're not sure what's going on?
Actually, I'll do part 1 because I forgot we had a YouTube channel.
So you're going to do part 1, even though you were absent? There's no redo.
I kind of already understand what that is.
Okay, that's going to be part 2 though. But you're going to still do it? So Sophia is now taking part 1. Okay, everybody's taking it.
Yeah.
All right. Don't forget, extra credit, if you want to do it, is due tomorrow with the test.